Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to happily inform you that this may just be the greatest chapter of Four Knights of the Apocalypse! What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. Hey, another fun fact. Wait, we're gonna save it. The actual fun fact of the Disney day is that Hauser's not actually fodder. All right. I saw the quote. Technically. All that was said about Hauser's current power is not that he's equal to Matrona. It's just that he's stronger than Matrona. And notably, that doesn't say, like, Seven Deadly Sins Matrona. It's just Matrona, who we know is still alive. And considering, like, every other character over the time skip has gotten stupidly cracked and just, like, cliffed everybody from the original series, Matrona could be Zelda's level for all we know. So, like, Hauser actually being a standard of power isn't the craziest thing. I think the main reason I was so heavily biased against any Hauser glaze last chapter was, like, we all read Seven Deadly Sins, right? We all saw how badly the humans got power crept. Outside that 1 feat from Gilthunder against Omnis Nebula, which just exists. It haunts us all, and it exists. Like, what did the humans do after the first? Like, they were kind of power crept into irrelevancy before the first season even ended. They were, like, before the 100 chapter mark, before they were all irrelevant. And it was even, like, retroactively revealed. No, the humans were never actually relative to the Sins. Never. They were just all holding back all the time. So, like, genuinely, I hope you can understand my skepticism, alright? When they're like, wow, even Hauser couldn't beat him, but Gawain did. That goes to show how strong Ballin really is. I'm like, Hauser? I'm a Matrona level guy? But, of course, you know, much higher. Could be, like, stronger than Matrona. Could be, like, 1 power point stronger than Matrona, or, like, 10 million. And also, you just don't know how strong Matrona is currently. You know, she was able to, like, tickle Gwane and, like, sit on a rock. Off guard him. So, like, you know, no, that's not a bad power place to be at, you know. The only thing is, though, it's like, if Hauser truly is, like, a relevant scale character, he may just genuinely clip the commandments. Or at least, like, the lower ones. Obviously not Elders, but, like, I want you to realize that. Because Ballin, like, contrary to popular belief, I feel like I'm gonna spend this oh, no, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to. But I'm gonna spend this first section of the video breaking down a little bit of Ballin scaling. Because I've seen a lot of people. Because I happen to peek, I happen to open my big old Sharingan eye and look at the Reddit to see thoughts on what this chapter does for my glorious using legendary thick scribbly up to King Ballin. And I saw people saying he's not even commandment level? What? Like, what? Like, I know it's been a while, y'all. But fun fact, Gawain, pre-time skip, was arguably well above commandment level. Remember? When, you know, she was eating hits from an amped Chaos Gallon who already appeared to be in critical over, who said he was stronger than he ever was and that even Escanor couldn't beat him? Yeah, that Gallon. That Chaos Gallon. Remember him getting absolutely viciously diffed by Gawain? Not viciously diffed. She had the hat speed. But still, she was relative enough in speed to somewhat compete and didn't get one shot. That was 2 years prior, pre-time skip. No, like, beefy super Dawn mode, anything. That was just regular pseudo Dawn Gawain. And then we have Ballin out here, casually knocking around Tyrant-style Gawain. And you want to look me in my eyes and say Ballin doesn't have commandment tier stats? What? I'll give you credit. He doesn't have win cons against certain commandments. Maybe. But, like, and he definitely doesn't have win cons against the Archangels. That's the one thing. I'll give Ballin, he is below Archangels here simply because he can't beat any of them. Like, genuinely, he does not have a singular win con against the Archangels. He definitely is. He's probably going to be permanently capped out there. Permanently. Unless he gets some crazy above my house. Like, that's not happening. But still, don't. Just as I'm learning to respect and not downplay, not my glorious king, but a pretty cool guy in Hauser. Don't downplay my juicy, thick, scrumbly-umptious, legendary, saucy, you could grind meat on those things, sweet heavens, having king, Ballin. Let's not do that. But speaking of things, let's not do it. Let's not waste any more time. And let's actually hop right into chapter 193 of Four Knights of the which is known as For Whom. So, we open up, and we do get to see that we are essentially continuing right where we left off at the end of the last chapter, with Capital declaring, the winner of the third match in Block B is Gwane! And we get Ballin, the previous champion, is knocked out in shocking fashion. And we see everybody gets to glazing, but three characters in particular get to hopping on top. As Percy says, ha ha ha, she just beat someone that just trounced Hauser. Man, Gawain is just the best. Like, my knuckles obviously can't turn white, for obvious reasons, but, like, it's so hard. So, like, where does he scale? Like, why is he impressive? Why is he impressive? Where does he scale now? Like, that's not, like, fine, except he's not fodder. But, like, he can't be night level. Is he stronger than Gnossians? Maybe? I mean, like, they're glazing him. Hauser. Like, he's supposed to mean something. Like, I get it. If you didn't read Seven Deadly Sins and you just saw Hauser and how he's presented in Four Knights, and he was glazed in part 1 too. So, like, I get that. And, you know, obviously, you know, he's a Grand Only Knight captain, but, like, Hauser? We're really unzipping and slopping down Hauser Schmeat? Percy. Really? You can one-tap Hauser. Literally. You don't even have to tap him, you point. But still, regardless. Percy's hopping on Gawain's meat because Ballin hopped on or stomped on Hauser's meat, and Hauser's apparently has meat worthy of stomping on. And then we see Tantris declare, oh yes, I was wondering how she'd tackle him, but what a fighter she is. Tantris being genuinely impressed and like being amazed by Gawain's ability is actually really, really sweet. Because once again, we never got to see it. And I'm not sure if it's in any volume extras. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I always forget the volume extras even exist. Like, did y'all know? This was a main thing. I didn't realize. In the volume 21 extras, I do believe, Anne's mom is just always behind Anne, I guess. And so is Donnie's mom. We didn't actually get to see Donnie's mom's face, which once again makes me think that's gonna end up being relevant sometimes later. Like Hauser and Donnie were both there. We didn't see Donnie's mom's. I'm not sure if like that's being hidden for something. Like, I have no idea why that is. But Anne's mom, at least seemingly, the real version of her just is not going to be a relevant character. Because, like, we didn't even get that scene in a main chapter. Like, it was a volume extra, which I missed. But yeah, Anne has the conflict resolved with her mom, and her mom's like, hey, you should be stomping on Gnossians for Percy's love. Like that was the main thing there, which is, it's a nice joke. It was adorable. And Anne's mom was fine. But like that aside, like, I feel bad for both of those characters in, like, their fate. But all that to loop back around from the volume extras point. We never actually got to see the initial meeting of Tantris or Tristan and Gwane. Never got that. As far as I know, we never saw that. We've only saw their initial interactions in part 1, once they were in Leonis. But we never actually got to see them meeting. We know it was entirely in the armor. Tristan didn't even know what Gawain looked like until the Leonis arc. But still, presumably she did something that impressed him then, and obviously she impressed him throughout the Leonis arc and afterwards. So it's nice to see Tantris, another version of Tristan who has no memories of Gawain, be impressed and glaze Gawain a little bit. I like that. Once again, the Twilight Sun duo is an interesting one, and obviously parallels the Escanor-Meliodas duo. So, you know, I'll take whatever I can get. Both of being the case, we do get to see that Beltreep is like, Gawain, who is that little girl, and why is this making my heart race? So, obviously this is just Damon's subconscious Escanor personality, or not personalities, memories kicking in again. That does make me wonder, though, and this is something that I'll cover more in the My Thoughts video on Dawn as a whole, and the My Thoughts videos on all of the magical abilities of the Four Knights, because I said I was going to make that video forever ago, never did. We had that reveal like 2 years ago, and I keep forgetting and pushing that video off. But I'm going to make it soon, I promise. But one of the big questions we're going to have in that video, is Dawn based on Sunshine, or is it an actively edited version of Sunshine? Now hear me out. If you'll remember, Gowther has a bomb inside of him. You want to know what the basis of that bomb is? Sunshine. So we've seen Merlin in the past take whatever elements of Sunshine she could get her hands on and make it into a magical force. It's a bomb, but, like, she did that. So is Dawn that, and thusly the original Sunshine Grace is still wandering about creation? or possibly still an Escanor soul, maybe. Then again, no. The reason I say we know it's probably not an Escanor soul is because we know souls can leave the body, but magics can go somewhere else. We see that with Deodora's abilities. And life spirits are a completely different thing on top of that. So you have, like, the soul and the life spirits. The life spirits go back to their realm. The soul just, like, dies and presumably goes to the capital of the dead. And then the magic fades. So, like, presumably Escanor, since he literally did burn to dust, if Dawn is not literally the grace being edited down by Merlin, actually, is Sunshine back in play? Are the Mael Meat Munchers going to get something after 10,000 years? Will we actually get new Prime Mael? That's been the main thing I'm wondering. Because notably, he can't overcome it, as if he can't fully recognize whether or not this is Sunshine or not. And that could be because it's actually not Sunshine. The real Sunshine is still, like, wandering off somewhere. Or in Mael again. I don't know. That is a big distinct question. But I do like that once again he's like, and it does kind of set up a certain narrative that I'll bring up in a little bit. Which would be a crazy, like, I don't know, at least to me it'd be crazy. But with it being the case, we do get to see that Gawain lands, or floats on down, not really lands, and then lands on the ground, and says, maybe I went a tad too far. But well, it's your fault for pushing me to this point, Ballin. You won't wake up for a good while, but you've earned my respect at least. Well, it's quite an honor. Okay. Once again, scale and size does not actually equal AP or power. Destructive capacity and AP are two completely different things. A casual Ki Blast from Buu Saga Goku solos your favorite verse, unless your favorite verse is Marvel, DC, Seven Deadly Sins, Bleach. Naruto, with Boruto especially now, Naruto, like okay, a lot of versions do survive a basic Super Saiyan Goku Buu Saga Ki Blast, but a casual Ki Blast from Beerus, casual, that does solo your favorite verse, and it doesn't matter how small it is. So what I'm about to say is definitely a little bit faulty, but that was presumably the most powerful Exterminate Ray. Maybe not in the series. Who knows? Merlin probably had higher AP ones, at least relative ones, but that was the largest Exterminate Ray we've seen from Gwane, and she was stacking it up with her Dawn abilities. And remember, Ballin was knocked out by the time that Exterminate Ray hit him. Not only did he tank it relatively well, notably, he's not even burned. The ground around him took more damage. He also just immediately gets up. He was knocked out by the flick, meaning his magic was not active. Invincible was shut off. And he just ate the Exterminate Ray. And it's perfectly fine. And you want to tell me this guy isn't commandment level? His base stats are crap. Like, he's stupid. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it makes any sense for a random human to be this strong, but he is. He's cracked. Like, Bonnie's just broken. He's just not broken enough, you know? Maybe. Just maybe he could join the crew, if you know what I mean. But let's see. Ballin pops right back up, showing that, yeah, he lost, but like, he lost. Well, no, he did genuinely lose the fight. And we see Gawain is absolutely bamboozled and goes, what? And Ballin is like, hey, let me just remind you just how tiny you are. And just casually scoops Gawain, which I know is meant to be affectionate. But like, I don't know. Well, admittedly, it's something that I'll do to like any of my really, really young cousins, or even the tiny one. Like, some of my cousins are like just basically skin and bones. They're like 50 pounds soaking wet. And I've gotten strong enough. I've upped my gains a little bit. Where like sometimes, even if they are like 5 and like 50 pounds, I'll just go grab them by the shirt and just lift them up. Or just like lift them up in one arm. Like I've literally like grabbed some of my cousins, my young baby cousins. Like, I can't grab any adults obviously like this. But I like grab them by the ribs and just lift them above. But if I was ever grabbed like this would be the ultimate showing of disrespect, bro. I am a full-grown adult. Do not pick me up like this. Admittedly, I am over 200 pounds. So it's not impossible for me to be picked up. I've been picked up many a time in my adulthood, which constantly impresses and scares me. But at the same time, it's so disrespectful. But at the same time, you know, this is, I keep saying, at the same time. At a different time, Ballin is once again showing his goatedness, his flexing, his everything. Though he does need some new clothes, presumably. But with it being the case, we see that Gawain is quite annoyed with Ballin casually doing this to her. Says, hey, let me go. Stop shaming me right now. And I said it's a little bit shameful. She's literally like, I didn't get it, you know, she's extra tiny, like extra tiny. Like, she's smaller than Elaine. She's smaller than non-adult King. She's tiny. She's smaller than Sixtus, y'all. But with it being the case, it is a bit, I can see what that'd be shame-inducing. Even if it is, like, technically a praise of honor, like hoisting up your opponent after they've beaten you. At the same time, I completely understand why Gwen is like, you're killing my aura right now, stop it! But we see that Ballin says, don't struggle, you'll fall. Once again, showing that he's basically fine. He's, like, absolutely chilling. And even Gwane points this out. You are just way too tough after all that punishment I gave you. No, I can barely stand up now. You're not convincing me. And he's not convincing me either. And that does genuinely make me wonder, right? I mean, I could talk about it, but since I'm going to be talking about something else and possibly doing something else a little bit later. How is Ballin so... Like, I mean, obviously he's just, like, built like that, right? Well, how? How? How is there at least as an excuse? He was fighting demons, fighting alongside Archangel. Like, he had, like, lore. But Ballin was in here fighting people who can't even code their weapons in magic. This man's out here, he was out here in the G League. He was out here fighting or playing on a middle school basketball court. Well, he was an NBA player. And heck, the average NBA bench warmer would cook any non-NBA player in a 1v1. So, like, Ballin was played against fodder. So how did he get this strong? Like, was it push-ups? Sit-ups? How much juice did he drink? Like, genuinely, how? Because this level of stats for just a regular human dude is crazy. And once again, you know, he could hypothetically be the reincarnation of the Demon King or the Supreme Deity or something like that. But with the way Invincible functions, I just doubt that now. At least the magic isn't nearly one-to-one, even if it is very similar in the negation property that the ruler and the Supreme Deity's ability did have. But, like, man, he's just a guy with crazy base stats. Like, he's just cracked. I don't know why. But I do like it. I do like Ballin, what can I say? But with it being the case, we do get to see that capital D. Remember, capital D is Gother. So I'm assuming this is Gother poking a little bit of fun, as he says, "What a heartwarming sight to see. It's like a chick on the back of a mother swan." Which is like the craziest yet most accurate comparison. The size ratio is almost exactly the same too. That's the sad thing. Gawain is so tiny. But of course, Ballin is genuinely massive. Like, he's huge. With it being the case, she declares, "Stop laughing at that!" But I laugh. And the live reaction, which you can check it over on Patreon for the lowest $1 a month. You can remember for the lowest $3 a month. The live reaction is 25 minutes. I don't know why they keep getting. I don't know why I can't stop myself from yapping. But with it being the case, we see that Percy runs up, tap, and says, "Gawain, that was a great fight. You've got even stronger in the past 2 years." And Gawain goes, "Yeah. Well, this much is for granted." So, that is an interesting thing. Because remember now, there is a possibility. Well, do I bring it up now? I think I could. Right now, the next matchup is going to be Gawain versus Tandris. Isold's not being Tandris. That's not happening. But Gawain could win. And we could get Percy versus Gawain. And the reason I'm like, hezzy 50-50 of whether or not Percy could or should win that is because the Beltreat versus Gawain matchup is right there. The man who is the incarnation or evolution of Daemon, who has a deep, like, family and biological ties to Escanor, essentially meeting his niece? That could gotta go. Meeting and fighting his niece. That could actually go crazy. Like that could actually go boo-goo bonkers. I won't lie to you. That would actually be kind of wild. I don't know. That would make this such a Gawain heavy arc. But now I think about it, Gawain is the character who kicked this whole arc off. She was the one who knew about the festival and brought them here. On her ship. This is a Gawain arc. So Gawain being Tantris and Gawain being Percy, not impossible. Though I do really want to see Tantris versus Percy. Because notably, Percy versus Tristan didn't actually last all too long. That was a despair Percy. I do want to see current top tier life spirit Percy actually fight Tantris. So like, Nagaba. Throw Gawain to the walls. But with it being the case, I do like the whole idea that Gawain, due to her lack of time and connection with her friends, still really can't take a compliment here. She, despite her confidence, her bravado, and all that, she's still like a lonely kid, essentially. Obviously not an adult, but like she's still a lonely young adult who doesn't like get human interaction fully and hasn't really experienced stuff like this that's not from her own direct family or cook. So I do like seeing her blush and get nervous and be like, oh, you know, this is I'm just built like that, you know. That's just me. That's all me. That's adorable. And we see that Percy goes on to say, okay, whatever you say, big lady. Let me heal you up real quick. And we see Gawain say, actually, you do that for him first? And Ballin is like, I'm fine. Take care of Gawain ahead of me. And we see Gawain say, what? Don't give me that. You're acting like I took more damage. And Ballin, who's absolutely taking no damage, presumably he does. This could either be his just regular base stats, or he could have the Fizz shield still up. We know he didn't switch it over to magic in time. But he says, you're far wompier than I am at the moment. Which is true. And unironically, I think Gawain did take more damage. Like, once again, Ballin, while he's slightly singed from the Exterminator Ray, he didn't actually take too much damage from it. And Gwane, like, never actually cut his skin. Since he was so physical based. Oh, no, I need water. But, actually, now I think about it, Ballin's magic shield should be up, right? Maybe he never reactivated his magic on awakening. Or maybe he reactivated back to Fizz. But he's taking no damage here. And Gawain technically did get a whole sword into the arm and was bleeding a whole bunch after getting knocked around a lot by Ballin. So technically, she did actually take more damage, at least more serious damage. Though notably, you can't even see her arm gash here. But it's possible she could have like somewhat healed it with Dawn. And we see that as these two bicker back and forth, Percy's like, don't really care. Fine. How about I heal the both of you at the same time? And both go, oh, great idea. Ooh, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to burp. But, excuse me. We see that as those two are healed up, everybody starts, Gawain! And we see Percy at a calm little smirk right behind him as Gawain looks on in shock to see everybody rushing towards her. Gareth, Anne, Nosians, Donnie, Hauser. And Anne says, oh, you made us worry for you so much. And Nosian says, but you sure didn't let us down, which is a W glazed by Nosian being like, hey, you definitely got our blood pressure up, but you pulled through. Respectable. And we see that Hauser even admits, you know, the glorious, legendary, juicy, scrumdiddlyumptious, strapping, meat-slapping Hauser is like, you're not prophesying for no reason, I see. And Donnie says, yeah, you're kind of mean, but that balance just floored me. With a wink. Which I'm like, Donnie, red. Donnie, why? Donnie, why? But we do get to see that Gawain goes, don't crowd around me, guys. You ran all the way up here to say that? Nothing better to do? Once again, she can't take a compliment. And hey, you know, as a person who used to struggle to take compliments and knows a guy who still struggles to take compliments to save his life, it is a hard thing, right? It's just if you don't have the highest self-worth, which we know Gawain doesn't have. Like, that's the big thing. That was what the chapter before last, 191, was about. It was Gawain, like, not really knowing and understanding herself, and by proxy not having any self-worth because of that lack of understanding. So, like, she's in that perfect spot where this is the character writing move where, like, she just can't take a compliment. She doesn't know how to interact with people to when they're glazing her. Even though she does back and forth and desire endless glaze, once you start putting it on her donut, she just doesn't know what to do with it. She has no idea what to do with all that glaze. But with it being the case, she blushes and gets all flustered. And we see that Donnie's like, hey, you may have won, but man, your hair looks like a bomb went off. And just, of course, it does look like that because... Not really because the bomb went off, but it did get massively tussled and rustled. And we see Gawain say, oh, you're right. And Percy's like, it's been 2 whole years without my twin sister. I know exactly what I'm going to do to get my lick back. And we see Percy go up to Kion and say, hey, 1 sec. And Kion goes, huh? And then Percy, with the most devious grin, look at that boy, look at that, with the most devious grin, is like, Gawain! And Gawain turns, only to get absolutely doused by Undyne, which is... I know it's spelled, I know it's with a Y in Undertale. I've watched... One of my favorite... I mean, you know what, my real, like, super favorite is Snarlinger, but that man hasn't posted a new video in so long. But... one of my favorite Deltarune theorists just dropped. You know, Chapter 3 is coming out in, what, like a week? Is Chapter 3 out in less than a week? Chapters 3 and 4? I think it actually is a week. So, like, that's crazy. Can't wait for all the new theories. Can't wait for the new era of Deltarune, honestly. Still haven't played the games. Never will. That's gonna be running. I will probably never actually play Undertale and Deltarune unless someone pays me to do it. Not for the fact that I wouldn't like the games. I love turn-based RPGs. But I just like having cultural osmosis / theory pilled myself throughout that entire duology. Like, I have never watched a single playthrough of Undertale or Deltarune. Not once. But I know so much about that universe. Way too much than what's considered healthy. And I bring all that up and to say I have Undyne on the mind, which is funny because in the Game Boy G video I'm referencing, he just dropped the Rousey conspiracy. Or who's Rousey's substance father theory. Undyne's not mentioned in that video once. But I don't know. Had Deltarune on the mind, which linked me back to Undertale, which linked me to Undyne, which links me to Undyne. But we see Undyne comes out and splashes both of them with a whole bunch of water. And we see that Gwane gets viciously angry. And if you'll remember, Gwane is the person who lit Kion's hair on fire, which is why it's short now, after the 2-year time skip even still. She goes, "Darn it, Kion!" And Kion says, it's not my fault! Percival told me to! And I do like that Percy does have that, like, sort of influence over Kion now. Because essentially, you gotta think about it. When most people look at Percy, like, oh, you know, it's Percy, you know, a regular, glorious, legendary, useless, grumbly, just kind king. But when Kion looks at Percy, he's like, oh, my lord, that's the lord of all spirits. He's a life spirit. So, like, genuinely, I bet now Kion just has, like, this deep, even if subconscious, reverence for Percy, because Percy can do no wrong. He's literally life and death itself. So Kion listening to Percy, and especially remember, Percy did drain Kion's arm. Kion has, like, really bad interactions with all the knights not named Tristan. Or Lance, really. But that's the thing, seeing him kowtow to Percy so easily and shift flame onto him, I like it. That's actually adorable. And we see that Ballin goes, huh, I much prefer your real self, you know. And this is the true real Gawain. Once again, it does make Dawn feel weird, but at the same time, this is the real Gawain, so we'll work with that. And you know, I don't know, I was hopping through the Reddit, like I mentioned earlier. There's hot debate on whether or not Ballin's flirting or just like glazing. And like, this does seem kind of flirty. Like, I'm not saying I've used similar lines or like this exact line, but I've used similar lines before. Like, I like the real you the most. Like I get that. Like, that's you don't say that. That's why you just glaze it, right? Right? He's like, yo, wait. Let me see what I can work with. But Gawain doesn't like women. But she does like women. But is she like? She could be bi. Like that is the thing I've seen a lot of people debating on the Reddit itself. Which, like, if she is, well, I'm down for whatever. Gosh darn, I don't really care. But and I think mainly the reason I'm down for whatever is unless she ends up with nonsense, there are no more women in the main crew. It is Isold and Anne. Gareth is a guy. Gareth is a guy. Donnie is a guy. Lance is a guy who has Guinevere. Tristan, I don't really like Guinevere, but Lance has Guinevere. Tristan has Isold. Percy has Anne and nonsense on lockdown. And Donnie's lonely. And I don't see her ending up with Donnie. So, like, I mean, could be the case. Though, if we can just get Gawain a tall baddie, like, I think the whole world would work well. But would it be the case, we see Gawain does blush a little bit at the compliment and is shocked. And she says, "Ah, like I care if some man praises me." And, you know, I get that. You know, everyone has the people you want to get your praise from. And Ball, you know, he's a nice, cool guy. Nice, clean cat. And it'd be wonderful if he, join the crew. But would it be the case, we see that even Percy, the brother in this twin brother sibling duo, goes, she's blushing. Which, once again, hard to tell if Gwane is like blushing because, you know, those meat grinder abs have actually gotten to her a little bit. She's like, wait, maybe I do like him thick all around and not just on women. But it could also just be the fact that she, once again, just isn't really used to like taking compliments at all. So it does make sense that she gets super flustered here. And she immediately goes after Percival, who doesn't fluster her, just makes her annoyed and says, "Hold it, you!" Only for Percy to absolutely bait her into another soak from Undyne. As Percy yells, "Do it, Kion!" And Undyne soaks them. And we see that Tantra says, "Boy, now I'm kind of jealous." As Nasian says, they'll catch a cold. And Anne asks, what are they doing? While Donnie laughs his head off. Tantra says, I wonder if I had a partner I could laugh and carry on with like that. And of course, you know, it's extra different. Because this is fake Soul realizing that once again, these people are getting a little bit too close to her living, breathing boif toy. not boy toy, boy toy, and Isold being not necessarily the partner, but at least one of the 3 partners to come along and feel a certain type of way and have a certain type of vibe with Tristan Omega. Well, not Tristan Omega, but like pre-mind wipe Tristan. She's feeling a certain type of way and she looks on to Tristan, you know? She was that friend. But notably, she doesn't say anything here. And at first, neither does the other Isold. And we see that our 2 holdover characters from the previous year say, so much for Ballin the Invincible, huh? And Ballin declares, yes, I sure blew that one. Which I do like. I do, once again, as Percy continues to get chased by Gawain in the background, the water didn't stop her. I like that these 2 have interactions. And also be interested to see how these 2 continue to interact. Because they did have, like, technical beef of sorts. But they're both, well, no, we're almost here. They both, let's say, they have escape routes from on foot now. And we see as Gawain gets super duper mad at Percy and stretches him out. Which is funny, because he is in a human vessel, so he could literally be stretching out that way. We see Ballin says, but I think I finally found what I was looking for. The person who will change my destiny. So, it didn't end up being my glorious, juicy, scrumdiddlyumptious King Lance. It ended up being Gawain. But, I wonder, change his destiny, he says. Does that mean he's gonna go back on the road? I wonder. Maybe he just needs to go and get stronger. But maybe he could get stronger traveling with a certain group of individuals, if you know what I'm talking about. If you can grease my pocket, if you pick it up when I'm putting down, if you know what I'm talking about. And we see that Gareth says, oh, you have, huh? And we see that Ballin admits, and now I understand what you told, and I think I understand what you told me now. How's her? And I was like, I'm just above maternal level. I could be Archangel plus 2. What do you mean? And we see Ballin explain, or admittedly confess in a way. Gawain. What? Oh? Look at how, like, Ballin. Okay. Pause tangent before I get to busting everywhere. Now that's why I'm about to paint the room white again. I had to drain the whole room out after the live reaction, but probably gonna bust all over again. The thing is, y'all did somewhat convince me, because I talked about, like, my whole thing, like, I'm not really, as a guy who's, like, over 6 feet tall, I'm admittedly only by 1 inch, but, like, as a guy who's 6 feet tall, I kind of really, like, don't like short women. I don't really get it. Y'all did it. Y'all did rationalize it for me. A lot of y'all are even taller than me, which I always find funny. Like, darn, I forget how big the human populace can be, but, like, a lot of y'all are even taller than me, and I'm like, no, I need a girl who's, like, 5'1", 4'11", it's fine. And, like, y'all gave reasoning. It's fine. What you find attractive, what you don't. And notably, like, y'all aren't going for short women who look like boards most of the time. Like, at least every single tall friend that I've had or tall person that I've known has dated someone much shorter than them. They were bad. Like I get it. I get it. So there is that logic that I didn't consider. You know, some people do just like them smaller. And there's also that chance, like, that, like, you can be super duper tall, marry someone super duper small, and still have super tall kids. Like that is just what like, sometimes the short gene is not powerful enough to overpower the tall gene. So, like, there generally isn't nothing against it. But I just don't want to have to put my girl on the steps. I mean, you know, I don't mind picking her up, but I'll pick her up if she's 6'5". I don't care. What you think I'm in the gym for? You think I'm trying to get these muscles for me? Nah, I gotta be able to lift my wife and my kids at any opportunity. But with it being the case, I bring all that up to look at the size difference between these 2. Her whole hand is the size of the tip of his finger. I repeat. Her whole hand is the size of the tip of his finger. There's a certain clip I play right now, but I don't want to get demonetized. So, something about little dogs, let's say. And remember, he said he prefers this real version of Gwane. If you interpret what Ballin says as flirting, no, Ballin, you can't fit. But with it being the case, we see that Ballin declares, I pursued power for so long. I built all of this up, and now I've decided to use it. For you. Wait up, Ballin! Oh, wait, no! I'm about to... I'm busting everywhere! Oh, I'm empty. Oh, I feel my organs leaking out. Oh, everything's so sticky. Oh, but yeah, baby. We got Ballin in the crew. As many people predicted, he did actually end up becoming the first member of the Gawain platoon, which is interesting. If the platoons do all end up being 3-mans, Percy already has his 3. Lance has nobody in his platoon right now. So he would need 3 new characters. And then we need a new person to replace Jade in order to get the 3 quota for the Tristan platoon. So we could end up with 16 major and or main characters, which is going to be interesting. But hey, I'm super happy that Ballin's showing. Obviously, you know, it's going to take forever to clean this up. It took me like an hour to drain the room after the live reaction. We can check it over on Patreon for those $1 a month. You can remember for those $3 a month. But with it being the case, man, I like Ballin. I really, really like Ballin. I like him for his power. I like him for his personality. I like him for his design. Like he is literally, dare I say, a perfect character? And trust me, Nakaba, the one thing, as much as a weirdo as Nakaba is, because there's no denying, Nakaba's a stone cold weirdo. Like he's a strange guy. Real weird guy. But his characters are the thing that always bring me back. Whenever the sevendeadlysins was even at its lowest, the characters will grab you by the throat and be like, "You're coming with us, Pencil Man," and I'd follow without hesitation. And I really, really like Ballin. Ballin has been one of the biggest hits for me personally in the entire duology at this point. He's already in my top 10. Yep, I said it in my top 10 characters. Is he in top 5? No. Meliodas, Escanor, Mayel, Bon, King. Like I really like a lot of characters. Zeldred, like he's not in top 10. He's not in top 10, but like, or no, he is in top 10, but he's not top 5. No, he ain't top 3. But who knows? With time, Lance, Nazi. So like, there's still a bunch of other characters. Percy, but okay, he may not even be top 10. But with it being the case, we see that Anne goes, "Huh?" And Nelson says, "Wait." And Hauser whistles. He's like, "I see you, Ballin, spitting game. She's toast ball." But we see that Ballin actually causes Gwane to blush a little bit again. And she immediately just disregards any sort of ulterior intentions that could have been hidden in that confession and desire to work for her. And she says, "Well, goodness, you're volunteering to become my henchman? Perfect then, you're hired. I can't wait to use and abuse your stupid self." As she pats Ballin on the head, or slaps him on the head twice, as the text says. But we see that Anne very specifically gets annoyed and says, "Oh, why'd she have to take it like that?" And Donnie says, "Man, the taste people have." And funnily enough, I'm not sure if he's saying that in reference to Gawain's taste for henchmen or in Ballin's taste for Gawain. Once again, I mean, like, you could definitely interpret this as just like regular glaze and actual genuine respect, really with this like really blasé reaction to Ballin. And he doesn't, Ballin, I don't think he even appears for, yeah, but like Ballin, this is the last panel of Ballin that we get in the entire chapter. But he seems to be cool with it. I'm happy to have him Ballin joining, though. Like, I love Ballin, so I'm happy to have him joining. And it does make sense for Gwane to react this way. She's not socialized. They need to socialize her a bit more. But with it being the case, we see Tantra saying, "Wow, boy, they sure are having fun. Don't you think, Isold?" And he sees Isold hitting the 1,000-yard stare, essentially, after his earlier comment. And he's confused. And we see that she's having a little bit of a flashback, if you will, as she thinks back to what Beltreep, while he was presumably still Daemon, said to her once. "As your father, I've honed my sword skills to aim for the top. I will use those skills solely to protect you." Where's your mom? Is she dead? What's with dead mothers in this universe? What mother have we met other than the Supreme Deity? I'm genuinely because of the flashbacks, or because of the volume extras, we now have met Anne's mom and Donnie's mom. But like, we don't meet either Diane's parents. King's parent is a tree. We only meet Merlin's father. We've met Escanor's mom, so that's another. But like all these kids, man, daddy issues are always their thing. Only Elizabeth has mommy issues. But with it being the case, we see as she thinks back and whispers, "Father," a tear rolls down her eye, and like, I'll be real, I still don't feel too bad for the character. But once again, I don't think Nakaba really expects us to feel overly bad for Isold, right? He still hasn't given the character an actual proper name, so we have to keep calling her fake Isold. She's clearly doing like very malignant things to a full-grown man with like sentience and his own free will, and is just completely overriding that to take him away from a group of people who clearly care deeply about him, all to serve her very own agenda. But at the same time, man, like, And I know a lot of people may not have the best relationship with their dad. And hey, I love my dad. He gets on my last nerve sometimes. Like the only person in creation who can rage bait me faster than my own mother. And I love them both to pieces. So thusly, man, I also would do anything for my parents. Like I do love them. I don't know, I love my parents so much. Like they are the reason pencil is pencil. Undeniable. Not just because, you know, they made me and now I exist to yap at you or to yap with you, but also just like, man, I love my dad. Boogie woogie woogie. So I get the pain and I get the willingness to do anything, man, because I probably do anything too. But with it being the case, we see that Tantris, things that click, as he says. You know, Lord Beltreep was your papa, wasn't he? And we see Isold wipe her tears, or fake Sold wipe her tears and say, oh, what does it matter? That man doesn't even recall who I am now. And if he's forgotten me, he's as good as a stranger. And Tantris tries to reason with her and say, I'm sure there's a reason for it. There's no way he just forgot about his beloved child. And Isold immediately declares, I don't want to talk about this. And like, Isold, you literally brainwashed the poor guy. Like you could at least explain and be somewhat honest with him. Like, come on now. I get it though. It's a rough topic to breach, man. And like I said, I love my mom and dad. I would do anything for them. But with it being the case, we see everyone else go quiet and look on like, is Shawty trifling? She must be from Dirty Dogs. And we see that she, once again, which is why I don't think Nakaba actually wants us to feel too genuinely bad for the character, and I am interested to see her role after this arc is over, if she even has one. But I just presume Beltreep will probably still be in the narrative. Maybe Beltreep is going to accidentally offer her? Who knows? We'll see. But with it being the case, she says, I have you now, after all. That's all we need. We? Oh, you did! But that's all we need. So please, Tantris, please fight for me, and win for me too. But, Tantris, he just like me for real. AKA, his base instincts are kicking in. Look at that face. He could not care less. He's like, my instincts. This short one claims I love her. And all my memories, all three of them, they're saying I love her too. But no, I don't like short twigs. I like tall, muscular mommies. Like he's fighting his urges right now. But once again, he is under complete mind control. And we see that Anne says, you're fine with her saying all that? As she obviously, wants the best for Isold. She's honestly Isold's best friend on the squad. I'd say even more so than Kion, because Kion still kind of looks down on Isold, or doesn't. Well, actually, no. In this chapter, he shows a good deal of respect to her. So she's the second best friend of Isold, outside of Tantris or Tristan and Kion. And we see Isold just turns and walks away. And Anne says, Isold! And Isold simply says, I have to go. We're up next. And she simply walks off to the cheers of the crowd. Very clearly sad and shrouded in despair, because, this is a real rough position to be put in. But with it being the case, we see that Caberoni says, we now move on to the fourth match of Block B in the second round. Tantris is pitted against Isold in our ring. And we see they both stand there. Aura farming. And Fake Sold says, come on, Tantris! And Tantris is like, you're tall. And you're muscular. And your hair is pink. And what's that on your arm? Is that a bow? I love tall, muscular women. No, he doesn't say all that. As he says, I do owe you for helping my Isold. His Isold? That ain't your Isold. Okay, that ain't your Isold. That ain't even a real name. But I do owe you for helping my Isold. I honestly don't want to fight you. But such are the rules. He does seem to have a smile on his face, though. I think he generally does love the battle. A little bit of that uninhibited demon side kicking in where he just loves that. Mink. And we see that Caberoni openly declares, let the battle begin. And Isold lunges in. She takes the first move against Tantris. And you can tell Nakaba ran out of time when developing the chapter, because from this point on, there will be a bunch of characters or things which are not inked. As you can tell first with Isold's mace being inked right here, and then not being inked at all. But that doesn't matter. Nakaba got the choreography done as they clash with the broken handle. What's it called? The Coffin of Eternal Darkness. It has a specific name, but the Coffin of Eternal Darkness piece, they clash, swing even. I know it's a percival sword, but still. They clash, they dance, and they go into this really elaborate fight sequence. And I'm going to glaze. Once again, Nakaba, He's good with the sauce when it comes to the action. He's really up there with like Suzuki Sensei of Sakamoto Days here, which I know is gonna sound crazy to some, but look at this. Isold goes in for the overhead, blocks. Tristan pivots, goes in for the low. Isold flips the Morning Star in her hand, blocks low. Tristan then, since he only swung with one arm, goes in for the high with the right. Isold parries immediately. They clash again, neutralizing it towards the middle, only for Tristan to lunge in, blitz, and then bounce off of Isold's swing to use it to get leverage, going into the air. And then they end up neutralizing after that interaction. Just really good, solid choreography from Nakaba. And we see, once again, Nakaba ran out of time with this chapter. Nakaba hired an assistant just to do the inking. But we see that Nasins is shocked to find they're so in tune with each other. And Donnie even admits, yeah, it's like a performance. And Kion, who is slightly more sociable, is like, of course they are. She sparred with Prince Tristan in sword training all the time. She's far more well-versed in swords and close quarters than Jade or I. Which is high endorsement for Isold solely for the training Tristan part. Or training with Tristan and actually being like somewhat relative to him in terms of skill. Like, Kion and Jade just don't really have like the swordsman skip or close quarters feats for me to really like laze either of them. They're all kind of mid, you know? But with it being the case, it is nice to see that Isold isn't immediately fodderized. I thought she was kind of going to get diffed. But admittedly, this is all base Tristan. Presumably he goes Demon Mark or even Goddess mode. He probably diffs her or heaven forbid Nephilim mode. But with it being the case, they neutralize and declares, well, that doesn't matter now, okay? And Nasins is like, are you tweaking? What's the matter, Anglehat? One detail I do love, Nasins refuses to call Anglehat Anne. I can't wait for her. I feel like that we're building this with that. We're like, Nastin is going to call her Anne in some like pivotal moment. Or maybe it's just going to be that character trait. But we see that Anne, who once again has her own little romantic issues with a certain Knight of the Apocalypse and feels really extra bad for Isold, who she sees drastically struggle with the fact that her boyf doesn't remember that that's the boyf, even though they were never really boyf and goyf. She says, Isold needs to remember her. Him to remember her already. She needs to urge him some more. And she's blushing as she really thinks the romantic connection with you, which is, I think it's nice. And you need to be buffed though. Ball join the crew. You are the weakest here, by far. Still, even with your magic hand. I'm sorry, you get cooked by a lot of people. But with it being the case, we see at the end of the chapter, Nakaba did have a little bit of time to color in everything, and Tristan says, "I know you. I can tell you know me, Isold, and I know those thighs anywhere. So I'd like to try and remember you as well." And Isold says, "It's fine. I am thicker than a snicker. And tall. And a muscle mommy. Relative to you, of course, since you're only like 5'7". Well, actually, he's like, I think Tristan's like 5'9" or 5'8". And I think it was pre-time skip. But in the case, Tristan goes, huh? As Isold declares, there's no need to try and recall me at all. Which is interesting. Isold, once again, presumably due to denial and mixed feelings, doesn't even care if Tristan remembers her. Supposedly, though. But just like, supposedly, the fake soul doesn't care if her own daddy remembers her, Isold really wants Tristan to remember her. So the two Isolds are speaking from their mind and not really their heart, which I do think is a nice, interesting dynamic between the two. And I'm interested to see how this battle's going to go, even if I do think Tristan kind of has to have this in the bag. The real question is, though, will Tristan be reborn out of Tantris in this fight in particular? Will Isold be able to reawaken him, leaving him as Tristan for the rest of the matches? Or will Tantris still even persist after this match? Those are the main questions, but I love that was a nice, meaty, juicy, thick, scrumdiddlyumptious draw. But worthy chapter. Obviously, I'm glazing when I said this was the best chapter of Fortnite. Like, obviously not. But still, a real good chapter. I like the character work for Ballin. I like Ballin joining the crew. I like the character work for Isold, Fake Sold, and Real Sold. And I do like Tantris' character work. Once again, real good character. I do like Tristan. I just admit he struggled a lot, just considering his lineage. But he can't fight that. He can't fight that at all. So overall, just a really good chapter. And I'm excited to see how the next fight's going to go. Even if admittedly I do really want to see Percy versus Theodora, which is presumably going to come right after this. But with it being the case, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave Castle Oblivion. Huh? I get it, because the Lost Memories multi. Leave Castle Oblivion in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that the notification bell so you not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Make sure down below where you can support me for as low as $1. Get them on, things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. So now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks include the live reactions, so every the series I happen to review, including the 25-minute live reaction to this very chapter, and variations of all my videos. And if you become a $25 patron or a $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, you have a link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below, where you drop 5 beans for a short video, 25 beans for a long video, or any beans at all. Any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with a Pencil, writing off. I'd like to thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Rebel 4765, Astro, Super Flame Zero, Glacier XZ, Zara, Brandon Payne, J2MA, Gyomi, Yuki Ally, Buddha Uda, Azo 2404, Planet Crone, G Prosper, Nevis 97, and Ollie. I'd like to give a big old thank you to our lineup tier patrons: Sean, Nirvana Igneal, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin Encarnacion, and A+A. And I'd like to give a big old thank you to our Inc. tier members: Fine, Austin Wimberly, Euchia, Carlo Alaimo, and Grim. And then I'd like to give a big old hefty thank you to our digital art tier members: J Warrior and AZ Void. And then I'd like to give a big old thank you to our colored art tier patrons: Waki Munoz and Waki Munoz. And then I'd finally like to give a giga super duper kidney sacrificing thank you to our ultimate, that guy with a heart on the horizon, Calvin Elder.